Hey everyone, welcome to the AI in Education, the creating assignments with ChatGPT for new educators. So the whole idea behind this course is to create content that's applicable to you as educators. It's ever changing, meaning this content is valid now and it will be less valid in the future. But hopefully this at least gives you some insight and some ideas and helps you sort of work through this new tool or threat that some think to education in different ways. And yeah, so this specific module or section is obviously going through just a brief overview of AI and its potential in education and going through that. So the first thing is sort of how long or what is OpenAI and what it is. Well, what am I saying OpenAI for? Well, ChatGPT is actually a piece of OpenAI. OpenAI is a company that started ChatGPT or Chat, the original Chat, I think back in 2018, and then basically Chat to Chat 1, Chat 2, and then ChatGPT 3, and then now ChatGPT 4 at the time of this recording of this video. And basically these models are, they've not been around terribly long, let's say 5 to 6 years, but they have grown exponentially. So as much as we as educators are experiencing this for the first time, it's because really it wasn't prevalently available to the public until November of 2022, when sort of it was released to the public and sort of the models were available. A little bit of a brief history there. So obviously, so what are some current applications for AI in education? There are many growing, meaning there are many different ways for AI to be in education as a whole. And we'll look at the concept of ChatGPT here. So ChatGPT is a natural language model. That's basically, it's a model, and it's a model that sits on a server at the current point and is waiting for an input. And it's designed to communicate with us in a natural way. So we as humans are receptive to what it produces, but it's not intuitive, doesn't think organically on its own. Actually, things will change, definitely. But as of right now, it's designed to be a conversational experience where it basically presents information, solutions, problems, strategies, ideas, whatever you'd like, and then basically present that information based off a question or a prompt you give it. Now in education, what can we do with this? Well, at a high level, you can think of different ways to develop conversations or even debates or ways to think intrinsically about your assessments, creating content, having it be a research tool. And obviously the hope behind this course is we'll dive into different ways we can think through that and sort of enable you as educators just to think, what is this tool of many, and why does it exist? How might I use it, and so on. So what are some advantages of having tools like AI or ChatGPT over traditional methods? Well, if you think of Google as a resource, basically if your students are researching and going to Google, they're going to put in their search query, and then Google will present different websites or articles or videos or images back to them based off their query. And one of the potential advantages of something like ChatGPT over that is that when you go to Google and you ask for those or put in your search query, and you get that information back, you still have to read through all of it, which is part of the learning process. But one of the advantages I would surmise is that with ChatGPT, it has such a large database of real factual information. It's not perfect, but it's quite good where you can more quickly get answers. But you still have to understand and read what they're saying, but you can more quickly get answers and potentially more quickly get results in a way that would be as if you're talking to an expert directly versus talking to a panel of people who each person represents a website of information that you have to talk to them and learn from them. Now, part of the event, I would surmise the efficiency of speed is an advantage, but one of the disadvantages is that when you are individually, let's say the analogy of talking to individual people or websites who are talking about their content, you're learning about that content, you're deciphering it, you're filtering through it, you're building your ideas about what that content is and how it fits in your narrative of what you're trying to do. With ChatGPT though, it's a simple dialogue, it's a simple conversation, but it's basically where it's like you're basically going to the panel, they're putting all their ideas together and they're giving their recommendations or ideas based off of one result, one response as the response versus you learning from each individual one. It's sort of giving that back to you in one form. So definitely advantages for speed and efficiency, for processing and simulations and so on, which we will hopefully dive into a little bit. But as of right now, it's not perfect. AI is definitely not perfect. It's so new and growing, and as educators, it's a little bit scary thinking of, well, how is this impacting our credibility within students and the value and the experience and the process and that real, true, organic, authentic learning process. So some things to think of there. So thinking about the limitations and challenges of using AI in education, sort of a weighted comment or process, this will change, this will ever evolve. And to know that's important, because as we understand the limitations of AI as a whole, or ChatGPT, well, it will give us a better idea of what it can be used for and what's efficient. At the current moment, the ideas of limitations that it's not very good at ambiguous wording. Or so if you are a person that is not a good typist and there are not exactly clear questions you're asking, well, there is some ambiguity there. So it's not very good at deciphering that. Or thinking through the limitation on memory and the server it's on itself, more of a technical side. Or even creativity. So ChatGPT is not a creative entity. It's not an organic being. It's not something like us. It is just a series of models and prompts going back and forth and responding to what you're saying. And it's trying to predict what you are going to say next and how to respond. And that's an important thing, that we have to always use the framework. This is a model talking to us. It's a language model. It's not an organic entity thinking for itself. It is not doing that. And that's just it. You can be sucked into the excitement and the hallucination of, wow, this is amazing, and it gives me responses, and it seems so right and so clear. And you have to think objectively, what am I looking at? What am I communicating with? And what am I actually doing here? If you always have that framework saying, okay, this is a language model, it's not real, it's not a human, it's giving me data that it is put together, then it sort of frames your way to say, how do I use this tool in my research process, or creating assignments, or thinking through that, and building activities for students. One thing I wasn't expecting to go through, but like ChatGPT is phenomenal for creating an assignment and giving it directions and formulating that for you, where you already knew what you wanted, but you asked the questions to describe it and it creates it for you. Or even making multiple choice questions, or saying, hey, here's my data and I need 20 multiple choice questions that are this hard, and it will create them for you. Or, hey, I have this assignment, here are my course learning outcomes, and does my assignment match? Or what course learning outcomes does my assignment address and match? And it can do that problem solving, that analysis really quickly. Is it perfect? No. It's going to give you definitely errors, but it's much more efficient in doing things where it's a good sounding board. It's a really good way to look at it, a really good sounding board back and forth. But hopefully that was a bit of insight, sort of the idea, the overview of obviously AI in education, specifically with ChatGPT. And hopefully it will give you some insights and interest for this course, specifically about how to create assessments, creating assignments with ChatGPT for you as educators. So until we dive into the assignment part, stay focused, stay tuned, obviously, and hopefully you find this interesting. And more importantly, I'll see you guys in the next module.